they talking real loud, spreading no light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading no light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading no light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hold on just a second. Hold on just a second. Okay, I was trying to double check something. Okay, so hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your second dose of your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so I was trying to check on something because it looks like they're saying the troops are withdrawing from the Middle East. Has anybody heard about that? We'll get into it in just a second. Let me go ahead and get you all started. Okay, so hello, Claudette, Nessa G, Yvette is in the virtual building, Buckhurst, DC. All right, let's get into it. Christopher Perkins. Lights up, everyone, please like and share. All right, Emperor Rex, DJ Big Six. Okay, Pookie is here. All right, Dark Tube. Shout out to all my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. Y'all know I love me some you. All right. Desmond is here. Shout out to my moderators, Songwriter Sunny. Shout out to my moderators because they be putting in work. Okay. Now, with that all being said, before we get started, I see you, the lovely T. All right. So before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay. Hey, Locked Queen Candy J. All right, Diane is here. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, it's looking like I'm gonna go to the video that I just saw on X. I'm trying to get some confirmation. Let me go to Chat GPT or something. Hold on here. I gotta find out what's going on. Don't tell me that they're sending them home. I hope they are. Hold on. Let me see what's going on here. Hmm. Hold on, I'm still looking. I don't know if this is confirmed or not. Let me see what's going on here. Okay, here's something from the Times of India. What does this say? Since Iran war began, all personnel from Saudi. Okay, hold on. Let me go to this report from 34 minutes ago where it says first Israel naval base rocked. Arab fighters boldest attack yet. Missile strike IDF hub in Haifa. It looks like this may have been a Hezbollah attack. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's go to this report. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on here. Has anybody heard that they withdrew? I can't see Trump just doing that because as crazy as he is. Okay, so anyway, let's go to the footage. Lights up, everyone. Please like and share. We're going to get into the Epstein stuff, but I got to figure out what's going on with this war, honey. Please pay attention.
Part of a broadening offensive Hezbollah has been conducting since entering the war against Israel in solidarity with Iran, following the assassination of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. The group had earlier struck a military site in Haifa with missiles and drones, marking the first time in more than a year it had targeted the city. In a separate attack that reached deeper into Israeli territory than any Hezbollah strike since hostilities intensified, the group claimed to have targeted the IDF Home Front Command headquarters in Ramlah and a satellite communications station in the Eila Valley near Beit Shemesh. Israel has responded by pushing ground forces deeper into southern Lebanon, issuing forced displacement orders covering 59 areas, including several Dahiyya neighborhoods. The Israeli military said on Monday that its air force had completed additional waves of strikes in Lebanon over the past few days, adding that dozens of rocket and missile launchers belonging to Hezbollah were dismantled south of the Litani River. The hostilities are expected to increase.
8 Israeli soldiers, including the son of Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, were injured in a rocket attack by Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah in northern Israel on Friday. Hezbollah's rocket attack was in response to relentless Israeli strike on Lebanon amid its war with Iran. According to the Times of Israel, 5 of the 8 soldiers were seriously wounded in the rocket attack. The troops, who all served with the Givati Brigade, were taken to the hospital for treatment. The Israeli military on Friday released footage that it claimed showed airstrikes on Hezbollah targets across Lebanon. In a statement, the army said its air force, guided by IDF intelligence, completed a broad-scale wave of strikes in Beirut against Hezbollah terror infrastructure. According to Lebanon's health ministry, the number of people
Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. Listen, I don't think that's the case. It looks like some of the troops have been pulled out, possibly, but I don't know exactly what is all going on. So I'm just gonna go to the footage. But it looks like somebody's copping pleas here. Listen to this. Hold on, let me just share my screen so you all can see this. Because it has come to their attention that BB's people have been doing false flags allegedly. Oh, yeah. And some people are real ticked off about it, talking about canceling contracts with the US and everything. Let's get into it. Now, here is Kuwait says, we did not permit the use of our land, airspace, or coast in any military operation against Iran. This is what Kuwait's saying. Now, Alan Mizrahi said, Yikes, we're watching the videos. So basically calling him out. Okay. Now, why are they trying to say that they didn't allow that? Well, they must not want any smoke. Okay. Then it says, despite strict orders from the Israeli government not to film videos, the princesses are not obeying. These are the same people who didn't shed a single tear for the pain of Palestine, but when it became their turn, their hearts jumped in their throats. So here's one person here. You know that old saying? It ain't no fun when the rabbit's got the gun, huh? All right. Well, I'm sure she'll figure it all out. Now, I want you all to think about this right here, what this guy's saying. Trump is essentially paying Russia to tell Iran where our troops are. Didn't I tell y'all that Putin was probably getting some of the information straight from Trump? I absolutely believe it. Trump should be tried for treason.
Trump is paying to provide Iran with the location of where our forces are in the Middle East during a war against Iran. Trump is letting Iran's ally Russia sell more oil to make more money, so Russia can then spend more money to gather more information on where American forces are in the Middle East. The Russians confirm this, so Russia can then give that information to its ally Iran. Iran, where American forces are in the Middle East. Trump is in effect paying Russia to help Iran attack Americans in this war. Russia just said it again. It is on Iran's side in this war. Now, what's that called again when you're fighting a war and people in your own government help a country that's helping another country that you're fighting against in the war? What's that called again? Treason. Treating. Never mind that A, we have no business being there. B, we are not winning. C, we are going to be there for years. Or D, Trump is going to have to cut and run. Or E, Trump is setting us up for an Iranian revenge terror attack. Oh, and a U.S. senator has now joined the hallelujah chorus, the apocalyptic end times return of the Jesus crap. Senator Kramer of North Dakota says we are there because of a biblical commitment to Israel. Iran, it is far worse than you think. On the new Monday Countdown podcast, wherever you podcast.
I find it all so interesting. Okay. It said it's raining hell in Tel Aviv, and there isn't one interceptor missile in sight. Didn't I tell you all yesterday they were out of interceptor missiles, just like the U.S.?
يا الله يو يا الله
يا ابوي وصلنا الطلق.
I'd be somewhere under a rock. Hey, DSB beloved. Okay, I would be somewhere under a rock. Hold on, let's go to a few more clips. This one right here, they say they're praying desperately to their God to save them from Iran, honey. Please pay attention. I bet those other people were praying too. Well, listen to this. Any Arab or European country that expels Israeli and U.S. ambassadors from its territory will, starting tomorrow, gain full control and freedom of movement through the Strait of Hormuz. Y'all hear this? Y'all hear this? Okay, please pay attention. Any of the Arab or European countries that expels, okay, Bibi and the U.S. ambassadors from their territory will be able to get through the Strait of Hormuz, because remember, they shut it down the other day.
Said out loud. In fact, it fills me with so much shame. But here it goes.
Now, this man's one of those people.
So I'm going to share something that I've never said out loud. In fact, it fills me with so much shame. But here it goes. I feel a sense of relief when Israel gets hit by bombs. It's like the bad guys are finally getting what they deserve. They're finally getting a taste of what they've been doing to everyone else. And it's a mindfuck. It goes against everything that I stand for. Look, I don't want the bombings of any country. I don't want civilians to die, and I don't want them to suffer. Yet, when it happens here to Israel, a part of me can't help but feel a sense of justice. Justice for all of the horrific things that they've done. And I know it's wrong to feel this way. My family lives there, and the guilt is unbearable for me. But logically, I know that not everyone in Israel supports Netanyahu. And even if they did, they don't deserve this. But I can't deny that part of me that feels a sense of justice when I see them hit. I wish I didn't feel this way. It's not who I am. I feel guilty even admitting it. But these are my private, unspoken thoughts that I'm carrying. I thought maybe it'll be therapeutic to say it out loud. So here we are.
Pray for him, honey, because he may come up missing. Please pay attention. Going in on his own people. Now, listen, this is Candace says, hold on, I'm not sure what Candace is talking about. She said Trump is not the commander-in-chief. In fact, Bibi, Netanyahu, and Miriam. Hold on, let's go to this. I'm going to put an overlay on here.
All right, you guys, happy Monday. Just going to pause our Bride of Charlie series just for one day because there's just so much going on right now. Iran is literally on fire. Bill Ackman wants me imprisoned, apparently, for suggesting that American sons and daughters should object to being slaughtered for Israel. Why so triggered? Perhaps because this entire war has been engineered by Israel. Maybe it's that. Donald Trump has very clearly betrayed the American people. You need to accept that. I've had to accept that. He is very clearly not the commander of the armed forces. Bibi Netanyahu is. Miriam Adelson is. And I believe that Charlie Kirk was the first casualty of the war in Iran. And it's also my belief that he was intentionally sacrificed by those who practice occult worship. I'm going to explain to you guys what I mean by that. Beyond that, it is completely obvious to anyone that is paying attention that Erica's desire was to become the president one day. So let's talk about all of it.
Sorry, beloveds, I was distracted. Okay, now with that all being said, hold on here. Hold on here. Let's go to this clip. It says, U.S. rabbi praying for slavery to return, where all non-Jews will be enslaved, and he's preaching this to the IDF. Read that again. Okay, let's see what he's talking about here. Praying for slavery to return. Say what now?
Passed on. So here's Rabbi Eliezer Castiel, and this is what he has to say to his students. Due to the abolition of legal slavery, there are now deficiencies since no one is responsible for the property, humans' property. With the help of God, it will return. Slavery will return. So who are going to be these slaves? The non-Jews will want to be our slaves, he says. Being the slave of a Jew is the best. They must be slaves. They want to be slaves. Instead of wandering the streets, being foolish and violent, harming one another, now his life begins.
I'm sorry, say what? Did y'all hear that? Praying for people to be slaves is crazy work, okay? Especially if you think it's going to be us. Did y'all hear that? I find it all nefarious. Okay, C-Stan, thank you, beloved, for gifting the channel 5 memberships. You all please shout out C-Stan. He just gifted us 5 memberships to the channel. Honey, these people are absolutely insane, honey. Talking about people are going to be glad to be their slaves. Okay, try it if you want to. It's not going to turn out well. Try it if you want to. Honey, do they think? I mean, some of y'all might be crazy enough to walk back on the plantation, baby, but not me. Okay? Not me. Anybody tries to put me in slavery, honey, I'm going to be camped up. I'm going to be camped outside, just like that lady that was across from Rihanna's house today. Okay? Please pay attention. This is all crazy. Well, let's continue. He said what he said, honey. He's so serious about it. Now, listen to this. So the Israeli media reports that Itamar Ben Gvir died in a car crash, while in fact, he's been obliterated by an Iranian missile strike on his home. Okay, so the lies continue. They're trying to say the man died in a car crash, but they said, oh no, Iran got to him. Okay, they do not want to admit the defeat. Now listen to this. This is what I thought was very interesting. Check this out. The revelation by the Saudi foreign minister, this is what he said. If the Pakistani intelligence services had not provided us with timely information, we would not have known that the attack on the oil refinery had been carried out by Israel and not by Iran. Now, y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that? Okay, false flags. Yeah, false flags. I told you all the other day that Iran said they were not the ones that hit that oil refinery in Saudi Arabia. Okay, so now they know. Honey, you have to be careful. Okay, you got to be paying attention. This rabbi says every time the United States betrays Israel, God will punish them. Hold on, let's get into it, honey, because they putting curses upon curses. Okay, I'm going to put an overlay on here.
The rain falls fast, boom, like in Florida now. Hurricane over there. Yesterday, the pro-Palestinian dance over there. Today, Hashem destroyed the place. They want to learn the hard way, they learn the hard way. You let these Nazis demonstrate, one day this place will be destroyed. That's how it goes. You get Hashem angry, expect consequences. The United States made a decision against Israel. Few days later, New Orleans was all flooded. Some Christian leaders spoke. They say every time we do something to the chosen people, immediately we have a natural disaster.
That's funny because he's not a chosen person. That's what he isn't. But let's continue.
Someone made a video of every decision the Americans made betraying their best friends, the best ally, Israel. Immediately Hashem responded with massive tragedy here. September 11, the New Orleans, typhoons, hurricanes, all kinds of things. Someone Christian made a video. You have to see. It's unbelievable.
So did the Most High cause 9/11 or did somebody else cause it? Please sit down, sir. Nobody's that stupid, I hope. Okay? As if people are being punished because of not going along with what they say. Now listen to this. OMG, this is a very big challenge. Iran is saying that any Arab or European country, okay, this is the same thing I already told you all. This must have been breaking news. Hold on.
Just let me bring you a breaking line reported by the Reuters news agency, who say the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, say that any Arab or European country that expels the ambassadors of Israel and the United States from its territory will, starting tomorrow, have full authority and freedom to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. That's according to the Iranian state media.
And I'm sure some people are going to take them up on that offer. So these three thugs right here. Now I want you all to pay attention because how come nobody's talking about them? They just got found guilty. They just got found guilty. These are the thugs, the Alexander brothers. Okay? Y'all know they come from that country over there that's fighting against Iran. So at the end of the day, they were found guilty in the same court where Diddy beat the RICO charges. But everybody's talking about Diddy. Nobody had anything to say about these two, but we're about to get into it. See, here are the troops right here. They said the troops are leaving. Let me read the caption. It says, breaking, the U.S. has announced the withdrawal from military bases in Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq, Jordan, and the UAE, Syria, and other Gulf countries. The footage clearly shows that Iran has won this war. I'm not going to be so hasty to say that. It looks like they may be leaving or going somewhere. And this right here is absolutely heartbreaking. And this is Trump that they have to thank for this. Look at the poor little boy.
Daddy! 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 Daddy!
So sad. This is hard.
Daddy!
Ooh, honey, that is hard to watch. That poor little one is not going to ever, he's never going to see his father breathing again. That is so sad. Trump doesn't mind sacrificing people. He doesn't. Now, they say that those people assassinated this priest, Father Pierre Ray, the parish priest of the Christian village of Kwalaya in southern Lebanon today. When they ordered the forced evacuation of dozens of towns across southern Lebanon, he urged that the area remain free of armed activity and warned civilians should not be placed in danger. Speaking outside his church 3 days ago, he declared, "None of us carries weapons. The only weapons we carry are peace, love, and prayer." Okay, he blamed Calais mayor blamed Israel for the killing and said no Hezbollah fighters were present in the town because I guess they tried to blame it on Hezbollah. He told LBCI that an Israeli drone strike killed another Christian civilian nearby after Israel's displacement order for the town. So they took this man out, a priest.
يا جماعة نحن نهينا قرارنا النهائي انه ما نكون عم نفل من الضيعة لو قد ما اجى تهديدات نحن بنأكد انه نحن هون جماعة مسالمين ما عندنا اي تحرك.
Well, may his soul rest in peace. Now they say the royal family were met with boos and heckled at Westminster Abbey in London. Citizens yelled, "Parasites, parasites." The British see the royal family as an expensive taxpayer-funded institution, while actual citizens live in poverty. They let their country be invaded, they say. Okay, I mean, it looks like listen, it just looks like the jig is up. It looks like the jig is up. All these people are getting called out for their BS, okay? I want y'all to pay attention. All of these people are being exposed. Now, let's go to this clip, and then we got to get started with this Epstein stuff. Okay, it says Donald Trump declared that the new Iranian leader is unacceptable. China responded that the selection of leadership in Iran was conducted in accordance with the Iranian constitution, not based on Washington's approval rating. Okay? Beijing sees this as the real message. It's not merely a diplomatic stance, but rather an indication of the emerging international order. For decades, the United States has acted as if changing the leaders of other countries requires its approval. But China publicly rejects this approach, asserting that the selection of leadership in Iran is a purely internal matter. By affirming that the succession process was conducted according to the Iranian constitution and rejecting any external interference, Beijing has sent several messages simultaneously. It has granted international legitimacy to the new Iranian leader. It has rejected the notion that Washington has the right to accept or reject the governments of other countries. It has issued an indirect warning against any further military escalation by the United States or Israel. Trump may continue to issue threats, but China has reframed the debate with a clear message. Sovereignty is not a matter of the United States to decide. The long-held notion that Washington determines who governs their other countries has now ended in a multipolar world, with Beijing asserting that the final decision resets with the countries themselves. Okay, well, I guess they told them. Y'all heard it.
Good afternoon. Question from Reuters. Iran has named Mojtaba Khomeini to succeed his father as supreme leader. Does China have any comment on his selection? Thank you.
我们注意到有关报道，这是伊方基于本国宪法做出的决定。
Thank you, AFP. The new leader in Iran was announced at the weekend. President Donald Trump has said, quote, that he might not last long, and Israel vowed to target any of the new leaders in Iran. I wonder if you have any comment on this. Thank you.
中方反对以任何借口干涉他国内政。伊朗的主权安全和领土完整应当得到尊重。中方呼吁立即停止军事行动，尽快重回对话谈判，避免紧张局势进一步升级。
I find it all interesting. Okay, I find it all interesting. Listen, I don't think that they're pulling out those troops. They need to watch Trump, because I think Trump's got something up his, I think he's got a trick up his sleeve that Jared and Bibi likely told him. Oh, but before we get into it, hold on, I almost forgot. Let's look at this post that Trump posted to Truth Social hours ago, or about an hour ago. This is what it says. Okay, please pay attention. Here's what it says. If Iran does anything that stops the flow of oil within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the United States of America 20 times harder than they've been hit thus far. Additionally, we will take out easily destroyable targets that will make it virtually impossible for Iran to ever be built back as a nation again. Death, fire, and fury will rain upon them. But I hope and pray that it does not happen. This is a gift from the United States of America to China and all of those nations that heavily use the Hormuz Strait. Hopefully, it is a gesture that will be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Down somewhere. Now, he probably came out and said that, because this is only posted an hour ago. He probably came out and said that after they said that any countries, okay, in the Middle East or Europe who get Israel and the U.S. ambassadors off their territory can go through there. Okay, that's probably why he even said it. Now it says, Iran officially confirms that attacks at Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Cyprus were false flag operations carried out by Israel to trap all Muslim nations. Iran also warns all nations to stay alert against potential future false flag attacks. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention, because I already knew that was coming. All right. J Love the Queen said the lies are ridiculous. Of course they are, beloved. You already know. Now, with that all being said, let's get into this whole thing about Epstein. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Before we get into that, let's talk about the Alexander brothers and how all three of them got found guilty as charged. Okay, I'm going to go to this report. Here we go.
Luxury real estate agents and their brother guilty of sex trafficking. Prosecutors accused the three Alexander brothers of using their money and influence to lure women into luxury trips and parties where they would drug, assault, and rape women for more than a decade. The brothers' attorneys argue in court that while the brothers' behavior could be seen as crude or inappropriate, they did not commit a federal crime. And we see Stephen Romo and Misty Maris joining us now on this. Stephen, the brothers face up to life in prison. Talk about what we saw over the course of this trial. Bring us all up to date.
Yeah, Tom, this trial going on for more than a month, and the allegations from these 11 accusers we heard from, they were hard to listen to. The brothers, of course, denying these accusations that they drugged and raped these women and girls. Two of the women said that they felt paralyzed before they were assaulted by Orrin and Alon Alexander. Prosecutors also said Orrin Alexander videotaped himself with an incapacitated 17-year-old girl back in 2009. That led to the charge of exploitation of a minor. The brothers were accused of using their wealth and status to lure these women in. And prosecutors say they used a playbook of repeated tactics with the women and girls over the course of years. Now, the defense tried to undermine that, saying that the sex was consensual and that prosecutors were really trying to criminalize dating. The brothers' attorneys also kind of admitted that the men were womanizers, but said that it's not criminal. The defense team had asked the jurors in closing to not just convict these men because they did not like their lifestyle, saying it wasn't a crime. But the jurors, they didn't agree. They sided with the prosecution. Yeah. We actually have a statement from the prosecution that we just got in saying this verdict cannot undo the effects of heinous abuse the Alexanders, many victims endured, but it does send a message. New Yorkers want to bring an end to sex trafficking in all our communities. Tom?
Misty, what do you think was the key moment here or testimony in this trial that led to this verdict, and how severe do you think the sentence is likely to be?
Tom, so as Stephen laid out, there were 11 victims who testified, 2 who were underage at the time that they were allegedly raped by the Alexander brothers. And that testimony was very, very impactful. It showed a pattern of conduct, similarities between the stories of those victims who took the stand. But in addition to that, there was an electronic footprint that was incredibly difficult for the defense to contest. There were messages between the brothers, texts and emails, and a blog which set out what was called a playbook and a section that said, it's not rape if, listing all of these things that the Alexander brothers were accused of doing and ultimately convicted of. So I do believe that led to the conviction. As far as penalty, there's a 15-year mandatory minimum for the sex trafficking conviction. The judge can tack on more. They face up to life. Each brother will be looked at individually, and they will be able to submit pre-sentencing reports in July, and ultimately they'll be sentenced in August. They'll be looking at the pattern of the crime, the nature of the crime, but also taking into account that they don't have a criminal history.
New details tonight.
All right, well, y'all heard that. Guilty as charged. Rachel said much more heinous than Diddy, okay? But it seems like somebody who was so obsessed with Diddy is quiet on the set. Has nothing to say about these three. Okay, they were worse than Diddy and had more money, so why didn't they buy off the jury, as someone alleged Diddy did? Okay, Diddy didn't have to buy off the jury. The prosecution just didn't have all the facts. They didn't have their evidence to prove their case, period. They didn't, but in this case, they clearly did. Because these men were absolutely guilty. And I find it all interesting that so many people are so quiet about them. Okay, I reported on them from day one. Please pay attention. Because over here, we don't just go in on the people who look like us. We go in on all predators, no matter who they are and where they're from. All right, that's what people who are really for victims do. Some of these people want to act like they're for the victims, and all they want to do is talk about the big names that everybody knows for clicks and views. Please pay attention. I'm talking about wig number 2. Now, with that all being said, let's get into it. Because as I was going through some of these, as I was going through the Epstein files, there's stuff in there about Epstein and the Rothschilds. And mind you, Lex Westner actually said something about Epstein being associated with the Rothschilds in his deposition. I'm going to go to a clip from that also. But he supposedly represented them. Okay, so I'm going to go to some of these emails. And then we're going to get into some of these weird pictures that were in there. This is one of the Rothschilds here, Ariane de Rothschild. Thanks so much, and I look forward to receiving the material from whoever that is with the name change. Let's stay in touch. Now, that's nothing. I just wanted you all to see that he had a myriad of emails and correspondences with these people. Now, here's the one where it's, this is when you know how close he was with them. He was literally representing these people. And representing them for what? Because Epstein was nobody's attorney, okay? But I found something interesting out as I was researching this stuff. Okay, so this is from Epstein to Peter Thiel. Says, as you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds. I was hoping to figure out a way for the bank that has 160 billion in management can do something in tech. Best client list in the world. Prehistoric products. It can wait. Good luck in China. I'll be in Europe again, 20 through the 28th. Then Ireland. So if you want to come around the world going west, come to the islands, or if you would like to meet in the Saudi at the end of the month. And then he responds saying, cannot in Saudi. Just think I will avoid the Middle East for the next decade or so. Should be back on East Coast in late April or May, sometime in New York City or on island then. Okay, so he just admitted that he was going to the island. Y'all hear that? This is Peter Thiel. He just admitted he was going to the island, and I find that interesting. Okay, I find that all very interesting, but I'm sure if you ask him, he'd likely say, oh, I hate that I ever met that man. I never went to the island. I don't even know him that well. Isn't that what they all say? Now, here is another clip talking about torture. Look at this. It's titled Torture. Okay, they redacted who it's to. It says, do you want me to try to do her or just torture her on blank? Do you want me to do her or just torture her on Friday? Y'all see this? And this is from September the 9th of 2011. Talking about torturing somebody and likely a child. Now, with that all being said, let's go to this one where they were talking about the bank. Because here's the thing. So what I got from this information was that the DOJ had alleged that Edmund de Rothschild and the bank in Switzerland were helping wealthy people to evade taxes. Okay? Basically helping them to evade taxes is what the DOJ was suspecting. Okay, Department of Justice. Now, they decided to fine them. Okay, so they were going to charge them a fine. They hired two people. One of them was a woman by the name of Kathy Rumler, and they hired Epstein. Now, I thought that was interesting why they hired Epstein. It says they agreed to pay $45.5 million to the DOJ. Now, Epstein was supposed to receive like $25 million for brokering the deal. And if the Rothschilds wanted to negotiate with the DOJ, my question is, why not hire attorneys? Why did they choose Epstein? That further, maybe that has something to do with his Mossad ties. I don't know. But I'm going to go to the email where I put this all together from. Yeah, that's right, J Love the Queen. Tax evasion through money laundering. Okay, so here's what it says. This was sent December the 11th of 2015. It says, and it's to Jeffrey. They redacted who it's from, but it's signed at the bottom, Ariane de Rothschild. So that's clearly who sent it. It says, yes, congratulations and a giant thank you. I'm relieved that it's settled and over. Now can we start moving forward? And then it's signed by Ariane de Rothschild. Then it says, I think you will find that 45.5 penalty legal, which is dollars, okay, plus Pillsbury around 10 and me 25, all less than 80. Pretty good, okay? And then she's asking 45 million, okay? So yeah, so this is the deal he was brokering for them. This is the deal he was trying to broker for them, Jeffrey Epstein, that is, and he was telling them it's going to be less than all less than $80 million, paying $45.5 million to the bank, I suppose, 10 to whoever Pillsbury was, and then 25 to him. So now with that all being said, we're going to get into some stuff about the Rothschilds in just a moment. Hold on. Now let's go to Lex Wessner when he was talking about Epstein and the Rothschilds during his deposition.
Sildenafil and tadalafil.
So he represented their whole families. There have been a whole bunch of people. He would say, like, I'm providing financial advice to the founders of Google. I'm providing financial advice to Jeff Bezos. I'm providing financial advice for the chief technologist at Google. Wow, I'm in good company because these are really smart guys with a lot of money. And I get a phone call from someone like a guy named Meyerwald. Who said he was the chief technology of Google. You know, Jeffrey has been helping me as financial advisor. I told Jeffrey I was building a boat. He told me to call you.
You claim that you have been a victim and defrauded by Epstein, correct?
Correct.
Then why didn't you file charges, go after him? He used money to hurt girls and probably young men. Why didn't you do anything to recoup your name, which has been synonymous with Epstein? Do you know your name comes up in the emails among victims who never met you, but your name was used consistently?
I'm not sure I understand what the question to him is.
The question is, why didn't you file any charges against Epstein if you conned you of $200 million that we know of? Why didn't you go after him?
Well, at the time I didn't know. And
when you found out, why didn't you go after him? Is it because he was a good friend?
No.
You had
my dad is probably laughing. You know,
No,
one of the things my dad told me, that you don't get a pissing contest with an elephant. And running a public company for a long time, I'm not good at public relations or financial public relations. And so I would answer questions to analysts. I'd call people up and I'd tell them the truth. And what I learned in the course of my business career is, whether it was my chief of staff, the company lawyer, personal lawyers, what should I do? And the advice is, let us handle it. You don't want to get ahead of this.
Okay, he's clearly lying, okay? He's clearly lying. Who is not going to sue somebody or do something if somebody takes millions of dollars from you? Okay, that's because he was doing nefarious things, more likely than not. Okay, that's why he didn't say anything, if you ask me. That's just my opinion. But so hold on here. So, and you know, Putin, by the way, they said that years ago, Putin said something about he's not just fighting the banks, he's fighting the Rothschilds. And let's not forget how Putin called these people vampires and said their vampire ball is about to be over. And let's not forget what world leaders are not accused of anything in these files. Okay, Putin is one. So I find that all interesting, don't you? Because it seems like all these leaders that America does not like are the same ones who are not accused of anything nefarious in the Epstein files. Did y'all notice that? Did anybody notice that? Did anybody notice that all these leaders around the world, that the U.S. seems to not be able to stand? None of them are accused of anything nefarious in the files. They may be mentioned if someone was speaking on them, but they're not accused of anything. Don't y'all find that interesting? Because I sure do. Okay, and that's why Putin said their little vampire ball is about to be over with. Okay? So anyway, with that all being said, let's talk about this surrealist ball that the Rothschilds have. In case some of you aren't familiar, that's a family portrait of them. I'm not even making this up. First of all, who and what in the world is this with these horns? Now, somebody said that was the nanny. Who has a nanny looking like that? But let's talk about it, because they had this party that reminds me, and I'm sure to remind you, of Eyes Wide Shut. Now, when they had this party, it was called the Surrealist Ball. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. The plates were covered in fur. The tables were decorated with taxidermy tortoises, and the food served on a mannequin corpse on a bed of roses. Okay? Sound like something you want to attend? Eventually, it says your cat butler would show you through to dinner, where the plates were covered with fur, tables decorated with taxidermy tortoises, and food served on a mannequin corpse on a bed of roses. The forks were replaced with dead fish. This all sounds nefarious. Okay, they had cannibalistic puns littered the menu. Sirloin, and they have sirloin spelled like sir, S-I-R -L-O-N, like a person, like a sir. Okay, extra lucid soup, goat cheese roasted in post-coital sadness. I don't even know what that is, but it all sounds crazy. Okay, anyway, the people had to come there wearing these masks. Some of the masks look like animal faces and whatnot. And they had celebrities there. Okay, so let's look at some of these pictures, because this stuff is all real strange, if you ask me. Okay, any questions? This is all, y'all said the music is creepy too. Yeah, I picked that music on purpose because they're creepy. Because what are they doing? Okay, that's absolutely nefarious. But hold on, let's go to this clip of Candace talking about them. And then I have some footage of people who were at those hunting parties. Okay, because, you know, they say that the Rothschilds were involved in that too. And let me just say allegedly, but there are some people that survived those parties, and we're going to hear from them. Okay, so everyone, please like and share. Let me get my overlay first.
Emails drop, and Jeffrey Epstein, who worked on behalf of the Rothschilds, according to him, he wrote that in an email, the Rothschilds, who credit themselves with having created which nation state? Oh, right, Israel. Israel, the same nation state that is having a bunch of women say that they were ritualistically abused in a forest by rabbis. That's happening in the Knesset right now, that nation state, saying that they were 3-4 years old when this happened. He's saying, those are my bosses, the Rothschilds. And here is a brief, but by no means an extensive coverage video that was put together by, I assume this guy must be Goy, right? Goy? Goy, TikToker, Contrarian put this together. Take a listen.
Israel is mentioned twice as much as Donald Trump in the new documents. Here he is discussing with Roger Schank, a Jewish American academic and hedge fund worker, saying Jews create vast fortunes by manipulating markets and creating financial speculation and exploiting labor. He says, let the Goyim deal in the real world. In a discussion with the Rothschild family, Epstein says if they overthrew the Ukrainian government, there would be great opportunities. The Rothschild family paid Epstein $25 million for certain algorithms. While talking to Peggy Seigel, August 7th of 2010, she asks if an event is going to be 100% Jewish. He says, no, they'll have Goyim in abundance. But don't worry, they're just brilliant wasps from JP Morgan. Joshua Finkelstein, BlackRock's Larry Finkelstein's son, is accused of not having any respect for non-Jews, seeing them as not human. This is from his ex-girlfriend, Svetlana. He pressures her to have an abortion. In 2017, Epstein has a conversation talking about if you want to hire the best people, you have to hire only Jews. Only hire those who can prove they are genetically Jewish. Maria Farmer, one of the first victims to come out and name Epstein.
I wasn't allowed to go get food. And when I called Ghislaine and asked why I couldn't eat there, she said, it's a Jewish country club. You're not Jewish. They're not going to serve you. They, honest to God, think their DNA is better than everybody else's.
Said that their operation was motivated by Jewish supremacy.
Anybody gonna say that that's not real anymore? The emails drop.
Okay, see how everything's coming out in a wash? Okay, now, with that all being said, Candace was talking about people being out in the woods and being hunted. That's what she was talking about. So let's go to this email that I found. And I've shown you another email when they were talking about hunting, and they were hunting Black people at that point and said that they called them moon crickets and said, you know who they are? They're jiggers. And we know they weren't talking about Africans, because one thing we know is in the Epstein files, they were very specific. They would differentiate when they were talking about Black people, because they called us Black people or jiggers, the N-word, but they called the Africans by the country they were from, like Ghana, okay, Nigerians, Jamaicans. So they were very specific. Now, with that all being said, here's one where it says, and this is from one of the Rothschilds, Ariane de Rothschild, okay, and here's what it says. This was sent October the 24th of 2016. It says, got it, amazing old male and amazing hunt. My bankers should be careful. My bankers should be careful. Thanks, thrilling hunt. So she was hunting somebody because, please, a human, clearly, because it says, got it, amazing old male. Amazing hunt. So probably some homeless man, who knows? But it was an old man is what she's basically saying. And thanks, thrilling hunt. And then saying her bankers should be careful. Now remember, Jeffrey Epstein was trying to garner them a deal with the bank. So maybe there was an issue or whatever, but the bankers should be careful. What is she going to do? Hunt them down too? I want y'all to pay attention. I want y'all to pay attention. Now, with that all being said, we're going to go to some of these people, that we're talking about. Hold on, let me pull this up real quick. Some of these people that were talking about the hunting parties. But before we do, let's go to some of these weird pictures that I found in the Epstein files. And some of these pictures, one of them, I know you already saw, that trap door, but I put that one in here because that's one of the weirdest ones, one of the scariest ones to me. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, now some of those were very strange to me. What was that black doll hanging from the ceiling supposed to represent? Okay. And then some of the pictures, I actually blew them up. You saw the pictures of the candy. Okay, that was in Epstein's house. So why would there be a big bowl of candy? Well, that was for the well, wait a minute. I don't think that was in that set of pictures. Hold on, I'll go to that in a minute. But some of those pictures were really weird. And did you all see the dog? Okay, let's go to the next. Okay. Now, listen, when I tried to do some research on who those children were with Bill Clinton, when I looked that up, Reggie said the candy was probably laced. You know, that's a good idea. It probably was. Now, here's the thing. When I looked up who those children were with Bill Clinton, they said ChatGPT said those were Michael Jackson's children. Okay, Paris and Blanket. And I said, no, it's not. Those are two little girls. So ChatGPT was trying to lie, trying to act like that was Michael Jackson's kids. No, that was not his kids, okay? So I want you all to pay attention at the end of the day. Now, let's go to this, what these witnesses say. There was also a lady that said that Harvey Weinstein was R-wording people at the Cannes Film Festival. She said that was like his hunting ground. I'm going to go to that first. I sure would like to know why Bill Clinton was with those two little girls and whose kids were those. I wonder if they asked him that at the deposition because I didn't watch the entire footage.
In 1997, I was by Harvey Weinstein here at Cannes. I was 21 years old. This festival was his hunting ground. I want to make a prediction. Harvey Weinstein will never be welcomed here ever again. He will live in disgrace, shunned by a film community that once embraced him and covered up for his crimes. And even tonight, sitting among you, there are those who still have to be held accountable for their conduct against women, for a behavior that does not belong in this industry, does not belong in any industry or workplace. You know who you are, but most importantly, we know who you are. In 1997,
so some of the people that she was talking about were clearly in the audience. Okay, I find that very interesting. Cassandra said lots of them, including Diddy. Well, Diddy's not in the Epstein files. But let's go to this clip of this survivor, Michael Whalen, speaking about the hunting parties. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. There's no Black people in the Epstein files accused of anything nefarious other than, from my research, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. And he's not like us, as far as I'm concerned.
Tell us about the first time you got taken to one of these parties, what your memories are of that.
Yeah, okay. So I was woken up by Michael Kohler. I was so scared of him. Like one of the ways that this ended up getting out is my mom had a guest over at the house, and when Michael told me to brush my teeth one night, I pissed myself in front of this guest, and this guest wanted to know why I was pissing myself, so scared of this man. That's just an ancillary event of one of the reasons why I was able to eventually talk to some counselors at my school and get him into some kind of trouble. You have to understand I was a young kid during this, so I'm not privy to exactly what happened to him. I've only been told by relatives that is what occurred, and I know that he disappeared out of my life at that point. But so I was woken up by him. He took me into the car. I remember driving for a very long time, and I remember being aware of where we were going. It was, we weren't wealthy. We were very poor. So it was all very impressive to me when we went up into the hills of Scottsdale, and it's a place in the greater Phoenix area that's a little more wealthy. And we were taken down. We were presented with a gate, a very large gate, and I remember being really impressed by it. I thought it was really cool. I didn't know what was happening to me. The first time I was very excited about what was happening. I was told that I was getting rewarded, and that what was going to happen to me was very, very special. I remember being super impressed by the gate because it was a mechanical gate, and I remember going up a very, very long drive to the biggest house I'd ever seen. It was like it was an amusement park. Like, to me, I was so excited to go to this place. And so when we were ushered inside by some greeters that would take people inside, I saw all the adults in the grand area that were, drinking champagne glasses, what have you, having like a party type thing. And I was taken to a room where there were other children, and the room was set up for children. And I remember it was only later in subsequent events where I would meet and try to have relationships with some of the kids. I remember, trying to talk to one of the kids, and I remember being scared of all the other kids because they were really standoffish, and I didn't know why. They didn't seem happy to be there like I was. There was only like one other kid that was happy to be there. And I remember trying to talk to him because I felt comfortable talking to him because I was scared of these other kids. I didn't know why they didn't want to talk to me. And subsequent events later, there would be conversations where I'd be told what happened to certain kids and why these kids were not happy to be there once I had an understanding of what was going to happen to us. But the first time I was then brought out into where the ritual was to take place, at which point we had been given like ice cream that I'm assuming was to drug us because everything goes after that. But certain times it was less. I was more able to retain all the memories of what would happen to me later. But during that time, that's the first time that I was sexually assaulted by a large group of people. It's the scene that your listeners will be familiar with. It's real. Like, they take it seriously. They actually believe this garbage, and they find some kind of power out of abusing children, and they think that it gives them power. And I was so convinced that I was so special for what was going to be happening to me, that what they were doing to me was a privilege to me. Like, I should be thankful for what they were doing to me. And at which point, they would viciously assault us and take everything from us. Like, they're trying to eat our souls is how I described it when I was a kid. When I was doing art therapy is apparently what I would say. And it's the scene that they'd all be familiar with. It's the scene where, like, these people are in their garb, and they are dressing up and playing their little games. And this happened to me several times, of which the hunts that I've described to you were less frequent. And because of the way that I was able to expose this guy, I think that I probably got off a lot easier than a lot of the people you talk to. There was a time in my life where I thought that I was the most unlucky person in the world and no one could have had it worse than me. But in hearing the accounts of some of
Okay, well, he's lucky to be alive as far as I'm concerned. Now, with that all being said, Reggie said, didn't they ask Hillary about it? Hillary, you mean that picture with Bill with those girls? No, beloved. They asked her about the woman. I think they were asking him about that woman that was sitting in his lap. There was one where, or he was in the pool. I think it's when he was in the when he was in the hot tub with that woman that was in there. That's what I think they were asking her about, if I'm not mistaken. But she just didn't want to answer that question, as we saw. Okay, so now here's someone by the name of Jesse Saboteur, a survivor of Illuminati Rothschild human hunting parties. Now, she says she was at the Rothschilds hunting parties. Okay, so let's get into it. Christopher said, did he go to the police at any time? I don't know, but what I do know is that some of these people did go to the police and the police didn't do anything, likely because they were involved.
At the hunting parties, they would, they'd have all these expendable children outside in the woods, and usually they have holding grounds, like a tunnel system or something underground, where they hold the kids in cages until the time of the hunt. And the hunt usually happens later, once it's dark outside. And so what they'll do is they kind of they'll kind of make a perimeter, which is pretty large, of these woods, and they'll station the different elite people around the perimeter. And then when they give the go, they release the kids, and the kids are told just to run, to hide. And that's when the elite will go through the woods and start hunting for them. When they catch them, a lot of times they will first sexually abuse them, and then they'll kill them.
Let me pause for just a second, because there were a couple of pictures in the Epstein files that I absolutely believe that's what they were pertaining to. There was a picture, I don't know if you all noticed it in the pictures of the kids that I showed. There was a picture of what looked to be two girls, looked like their hands were tied to a tree. That's what it looked like to me. And then also there was a picture of bows and arrows. And some of these people that were hunted did say that they would have bows and arrows. Okay, now just imagine children 4, 5, and 6 years old running for their lives through the woods, no clothing on, no shoes, their little feet getting cut. They probably can't run that fast. Of course, dogs coming after them, people coming with bows and arrows and guns to hunt them. If you saw the movie Surviving the Game, that's likely where they got it from. If you saw the other movie called The Hunt, this is likely where they got it from. Okay, let's continue.
So not everybody will get killed in that situation. If they don't, then they're used for other hunts. But, there were kids that I saw who, were really good survivors, and they would just continuously have to relive this trauma, so there was kind of so those were the kids on the outside, and then because we were hierarchy kids, we were on the inside. And so on the inside, usually in the house or the lodge, you would have the older men who were too old. Sometimes it did include women, but they were too old to be out in the woods hunting for the kids. So they brought everything indoors for those individuals. And those individuals were not allowed to kill, but they were allowed to capture and rape the hierarchy children. So, once the signal was given that the hunt was on, you know, you were just trying to escape, hide, and not be found. And sometimes they would make it seem, you know, for the kids like it was a hide and seek game. You know, so unless you got caught, you really didn't know what happened.
Now, I want you all to pay attention, because you know what I just realized? I just realized that this is likely where they got the children's game, hide and go seek, hide and seek. That's likely where they got that game from, okay? That's likely where they got that game from, because when you think about the history of all of the nursery rhymes, how I've told you all, those of you that follow the spiritual channel, we've got to get back on there sometime this week. But for those of you that follow the spiritual channel, you know, I told you about all the nursery rhymes and the nefarious origins of where they come from, okay? So that's probably where they got hide and seek from. They've been doing this forever. This is nothing new. Okay, this is absolutely nothing new. Now, if you remember, I told you also how Fiona Barnett talked about those hunting parties as well. Okay, let's go to the clip of her. For those of you who missed it, this is the first person I ever heard mention these parties. She's the woman who was assaulted and tortured and all these things by Nicole Kidman's father, Dr. Anthony David Kidman, who's now deceased after he was caught. He turned up dead.
I was a victim of Australia's VIP child sex trafficking ring. For example, I was prostituted to pedophile parties at Parliament House, Canberra, and to an international leader at Fairbairn Military Airport. The people involved in this elite pedophile ring included high-ranking politicians, police, and judiciary. From the late 1980s, I reported my abuse experiences to multiple healthcare professionals, not one of whom adhered to mandatory reporting requirements. I reported to New South Wales Police in 2008. I reported to the Royal Commission in 2012. I reported to Operation and Test in Canberra. I made formal witness statements to New South Wales Police and have agreed to do more. I've reported directly to the New South Wales and Federal Police Commissioners and to the New South Wales Coroner. I have provided sufficient names, times, dates and places for authorities to investigate. My experiences were horrific beyond words. I witnessed child abduction, torture, rape, murder. But the way I've been treated for reporting the crimes I witnessed and experienced has been far worse than my original abuse experiences. Victims endure the most miserable childhoods. We then spend the rest of our lives paying for the crimes committed against us. Victims are constantly placed under excessive scrutiny. If we can't provide a precise time and date for something that happened 40 years ago, we're put liars. If we get emotional, we're labelled crazy. If we are vocal, we're just attention seekers. It's time to focus our attention away from victims and onto those responsible for the crimes against children. In the 2006 census, Australians identified child protection as their number one concern. Why then does our government continue to ignore the public's concern for children? Australia is a pedophile haven. Our laws are written, interpreted and administered in a way that benefits pedophiles and silences victims of crime. Our university lecturers teach pro-pedophilia material. Our health boards continue to allow offending doctors and psychologists to practice. We are up to our second Royal Commission into child abuse in 20 years.
I'm going to stop right there. That's the press conference she gave. Now let's go. I believe this is the clip where she talks about the hunting parties. And this man is being so skeptical, like he just doesn't believe it, like it's so far-fetched. I think he absolutely knows about those parties, okay? He was just being so nefarious, in my opinion.
But now to another example of sensational crime reporting and some far more remarkable allegations aired in the media 10 days ago.
A woman who says she was the victim of an alleged pedophile ring operating in the 1970s has made
Okay, Evelyn said, Queen, was this just white children or did they have a lot of black children too? Listen, I don't know how many of any of the children they had, but yes, they did have black children too. I've said that a myriad of times. I'm sure you probably missed it, beloved. Yes, they had black children too. We've gone through that. I've shown the proof. They had African children, they had black children, they had black people, period. They called us moon crickets and jiggers with an N. They absolutely were doing these things to the black children and African children. And some of these files have not been released. And if you ask me, what's in there is the depths of depravity of the things they did to the black children. And also there's stuff in there about the snuff films. Okay, that's what's in there. Why they don't want to release all of that. Okay. And Nubia is talking about Hansel and Gretel. Yeah, we talked about that weeks ago. That was this stuff that they were doing to these children, eating them. That's likely where they got those stories from, Hansel and Gretel. Absolutely. All of those stories about children being eaten by witches and all of that stuff. All of that stuff probably came from things that they were actually doing. We did talk about that. Let's continue.
Explosive claims in Sydney today. Fiona Barnett spoke at a press conference along with members of abuse survivor group SNAP.
I was prostituted to pedophile parties at Parliament House, Canberra. The people involved in this elite pedophile ring included high-ranking politicians, police.
And with her story, and onlynews.com.au saw fit to suggest it might not stack up by including this statement from ACT Police, noting,
"The matter was thoroughly investigated by ACT Policing's Operation Attest, and there was no evidence to substantiate the complainant's allegations."
Elsewhere, Ms. Barnett's allegations were accepted pretty much uncritically by a host of newspapers and websites, including the Sydney Morning Herald, the Daily Telegraph, the Hobart Mercury, Adelaide's The Advertiser, and a raft of regional papers owned by Fairfax Media or by APN's Australian regional media. Her claims also made headlines in the Daily Mail and in the UK's Independent newspaper.
Okay, he was just getting on my nerves. I think he's probably involved in those PDF file rings because he was just trying to go in on poor little Fiona. Why would she make any of that stuff up? Okay, why would she have made any of it up? And they always say that there's nothing to substantiate it. That's what they always say. But if many victims are coming out, many survivors are coming out and saying the exact same things, and these people don't know each other, how are they knowing that these people belong to satanic cults? How are they knowing what these people are doing out there in the woods? How do they know these things? Why are we seeing it in movies? Okay, and here's the thing I want you all to pay attention to. You all know that they absolutely do hunt people, specifically black people, because what happened to Rasheem Carter? Once in the chat, if you all remember the story I covered about 2 years ago on Rasheem Carter down there in Laurel, Mississippi, he was being hunted. Okay? He was being hunted. So was Tyrekus Atkins. They both were hunted by white men, taken out into the woods, stripped of their shoes and their shirts, and given a head start and told to run. That's exactly what Fiona said was happening to those children. That's what other people who survived the hunting party said happened to those children. They have been hunting people for decades, centuries even. This is nothing new. In this case, with the Epstein files, these people were just PDF files, predators upon children, so they were hunting them. But truth be told, they've always hunted black folk. And that's why I told you all, when some people were saying, oh, they didn't have any black people in the Epstein files, I told you all, yes, they did. And it took me a minute to find them, but I found them, and I showed you all that. So that's what they want. They want you to think that black people are not involved. They didn't do this to black children, so you won't be concerned. You won't be so worried about your children. But with all the black children that come up missing yearly, annually, all the children, period, over 800,000 children come up missing in the United States annually. What do you think is happening to them? What do you think is happening to them? Okay? These people are demonic. With that all being said, but hold on. Now let's talk about this woman who was a co-conspirator. And Evelyn, you're welcome, beloved. Now listen, let's talk about this woman who was a whole co-conspirator of Epstein's. She was the pilot for his plane, the Lolita Express. She helped him to procure girls for his clients. And she was a co-conspirator, listed as a co-conspirator, but never was charged. Her attorneys say that she was, in fact, a victim. Okay? So let's get into it. I'm going to go to this news report. Her name is Nadia Marcinko. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
Figures in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal has now been pulled back into the spotlight. Newly released Department of Justice files reveal that Nadia Marcinko, the Slovak model who later became a licensed pilot flying Epstein's infamous private jet, quietly cooperated with the FBI for years. According to documents first reported by the NY Post, Marcinko provided information to federal investigators between 2018 and 2022, all while facing her own immigration uncertainty. Nadia Marcinko, now 40, was previously named as a co-conspirator in Epstein's controversial 2008 Florida non-prosecution agreement, the so-called sweetheart deal that allowed Epstein to plead guilty to state prostitution charges instead of facing federal sex trafficking counts. At the time, her lawyers maintained she was a victim. Now, a 2022 letter from the FBI's Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Division confirms she participated in several telephonic and in-person meetings regarding criminal investigations into both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. In that letter, Special Agent Amanda Young wrote that Nadia Marcinko cooperated extensively, and according to emails included in the file release, her attorneys reached out to federal authorities when her visa was set to expire in 2022. The request? Assistance in remaining in the United States. The FBI, in a declaration to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services cited in the DOJ files, described Marcinko as someone who had been recruited, harbored, and obtained for a coercive sexual relationship. The documents further state that returning to her native Slovakia could place her at risk of retaliation for speaking with U.S. authorities. Her attorney, Erica Dubno, wrote in correspondence included in the DOJ release that Nadia Marcinko was working on her healing and trying to build a normal life. Federal officials echoed that she had been a victim of human trafficking, a characterization that contrasts with earlier Florida court filings that accused her of participating in sex acts involving minors. She was never criminally charged. Nadia Marcinko's connection to Epstein dates back to the early 2000s. Records reviewed by the Post show she entered the United States through a modeling visa linked to Jean-Luc Brunel's agency. Brunel himself later charged in France in connection to the Epstein network before his death in custody. Emails reportedly reviewed by the NY Post suggest Marcinko began a sexual relationship with Epstein in 2003 when she was 18. However, some victims interviewed in West Palm Beach claim she was present earlier, allegations that have long complicated the narrative around her role. The emails cited in the reporting paint a turbulent dynamic between Nadia Marcinko and Epstein. In one 2006 exchange, Epstein allegedly criticized her for failing to recruit other young women during trips abroad. In another message, he complained about broken promises and unmet expectations. Around 2010, Marcinko attempted to distance herself and sought her own apartment, writing in one email that she had once envisioned a future partnership with him, a future she later described as a shattered fantasy. But despite that fracture, she later earned her pilot's license and began flying Epstein's private jet, widely known as the Lolita Express, which prosecutors have alleged was used to transport victims across state lines and internationally. In 2011, she launched an aviation company called Avila Loop, reportedly backed financially by Epstein. That business, according to email correspondence cited by the NY Post, enabled her to transition to an investor visa after her modeling visa expired. Communication between Epstein and Nadia Marcinko reportedly ended in 2018, the same year she began cooperating with federal investigators. By 2021, her investor visa had lapsed, prompting her legal team to seek support from the FBI. The DOJ files suggest that support came in the form of a formal letter acknowledging her cooperation and trafficking victim status. The Bureau urged immigration authorities to consider those factors in evaluating her case. The revelations add yet another layer to the sprawling Epstein saga, a case that has implicated powerful figures, triggered global investigations, and continues to generate document releases years after his 2019 death in federal custody. Nadia Marcinko's role has long been debated: victim, participant, survivor, witness, or some combination of all four. With these DOJ files now public, a clearer, though still complex timeline is emerging. For now, Nadia Marcinko's attorneys have declined further comment, but as federal documents continue to surface, the story of Epstein's inner circle and those who once stood closest to him is far from over. This is one chapter that may raise more questions than it answers.
Okay, you all hear that? So she got no charges at all whatsoever and clearly came out as the victim. Okay? I want y'all to pay attention. Now, here's the thing. Let me show you all this email. I forgot to show you all this. Now, I thought this was quite interesting. And this is another exchange between Epstein and Ariane de Rothschild from December of 2018. I thought you'd find amusing that in a Harvard class on Hitler, they told the story of when he was so poor, he lived in a shelter for the homeless and destitute that had been financed by three wealthy families, the Gutmans, the Epsteins, and the Rothschilds. It turns out to be accurate. First, it turns out to be 100% true. Hitler was selling his clothes and artwork and living in a shelter funded by the U's, Epstein, Rothschild, and Gutman. No conspiracy. The Epsteins were the Vienna bankers, bought their bank on the ring, hence still Palais Epstein. Where are you? I'm in bed with your cold. Okay, y'all hear that? So basically talking about the U's funded Hitler. That's what they were saying. Now, I have actually heard that before. So I thought that was interesting when I saw it in the email. Okay, so that same woman, Nadia Marcinko, well, it looks like she vanished. It looks like she vanished after the files got dropped. Okay, let's go to this report. And then we got to talk about Jesse Jackson Jr. because he went in, right? I almost forgot. We got to talk about him next, going in on Barack Obama and everybody else. Where is Nadia Marcinko? Epstein's missing Yugoslavian SEX slave vanishes amid December 2025 file release. As the DOJ releases 13,000 new Epstein files in late 2025, the mystery of Nadia Marcinko deepens. The pilot and aide granted immunity in 2008 has not been seen since January of 2024. Okay, so she's nowhere to be found, supposedly. Probably off grid. I don't know. What do y'all think? I find it all interesting. Now, with that all being said, let's talk about Jesse Jackson Jr. because he, quite frankly, didn't like what Obama, Kamala, and the rest of them got up there and said. Okay, please pay attention. Let me pull up the footage. Here we go.
I listened for several hours of three United States presidents who do not know Jesse Jackson. He maintained a tense relationship with the political order, not because the presidents were white or black, but the demands of our message demanded not Democratic or Republican solutions, but demanded a consistent, prophetic voice that at no point in time ever sold us out as a people. I listened.
Now, I'm just curious as to why he felt the need to bring up never sold us out. Okay, anybody want to venture to guess? Hold on, let's go to this next clip. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Nene said Jesse didn't like Obama. Yeah, we know he didn't.
Yesterday, I listened to the United States presidents who do not know Jesse Jackson.
Do not bring your politics out of respect to Reverend Jesse Jackson and the life that he lived to these homegoing services. Come respectful and come to say thank you. But these homegoing services are welcome to all. Another setback to the idea of the rule of law. An offense to common decency. Every day you wake up to things you just didn't think were possible. Each day we're told by those in our office to fear each other and to turn on each other. And that some Americans count more than others. We beat people bigger than Trump. We fought people harder than them. If we stand up and be what we're supposed to be.
Let me just say, I predicted a lot about what's happening right now. I'm not into saying I told you so, but we did see it coming.
They didn't have anything to say about old Jesse. They didn't have anything to say about Jesse, y'all. Hold on. Let's go to this full clip of Kamala. Hold on.
But let me just say, I predicted a lot about what's happening right now. I'm not into saying I told you so, but we did see it coming. But what I did not predict is that we would not have Jesse Jackson with us right now to help us get through this.
It may be tempting for some to compromise with power and grab what you can, or even for good people to maybe just put your head down and wait for the storm to pass.
You all, I'm here for it. Barack said, Barack said you may have to put your head down and wait for the storm to pass. Hold on. Somebody said, okay, Claudette said they are pathetic. Nene says, I've seen a couple of credible reports that Obama wasn't invited. He crashed the funeral. Look at not. Terry says they could have respectfully declined to speak. Their presence was enough. Listen, I'm sorry, but to me, if you invite politicians, how do you not expect them to talk about politics, especially when what's going on is going on right now? They knew that at that point, that's when they had the ears of the people, and they felt the need to say something. All right? I'm sorry, but I'm going to ride with Obama on this one. Jesse Jackson Jr. can sit down somewhere, as far as I'm concerned. He should be glad they showed up. Okay? He should be glad they showed up.
But this man, Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson, inspires us to take a harder path. His voice calls on each of us to be heralds of change, to be messengers of hope, to step forward and say, send me. Wherever we have a chance to make an impact, whether it's in our school, or our workplaces, or our neighborhoods, or our cities.
I am so done when y'all said Barack crashed the funeral. Y'all need to stop lying on President Obama. Y'all know y'all need to stop. Y'all know that man didn't crash the funeral, but hold on, because here's what some TikTokers had to say about it. Please pay attention. Let's see who they're going to go in on. Will it be Jesse Jackson Jr. or Obama and them?
Jesse Jackson Jr. should not be reelected. And let me tell you his problem with Barack Obama. So when President Barack Obama was running for president, his co-campaign chair for his presidential campaign was no other than Jesse Jackson Jr. And now when President Barack Obama became president, his Senate seat top contender was no other than Jesse Jackson Jr., but it didn't work out in his favor, and I'm glad it didn't. While serving in the House of Representatives, Jesse Jackson Jr. was misusing his campaign funds. Well, let me stop for a minute. His wife, who was on city council, was also misusing money too. Jesse Jackson Jr. was indicted by Barack Obama's Justice Department and was sentenced to over 30 months in jail, while his wife was sentenced to 12 months in jail. Now, Jesse Jackson Jr. served his time, and then when he got out, she served her time. Now, when it came down to him basically resigning from the House of Representatives, they cited health reasons. So then he went on to the hospital, and they basically said it was a bipolar disorder. Let me tell y'all something. Jesse Jackson Jr. is a criminal, and he's upset because President Obama basically didn't pardon him. His sister was also at Michelle and Barack Obama wedding. And from some sources, she was also in the wedding. So when you say your father didn't know President Obama, it sounds like a lie to me. It seems like you trying to basically pander to the mega movement.
That's exactly what it sounds like to me. It sounds like to me he's trying to pander to the MAGA movement as well. That's why I'm not here for it at the end of the day. And also, I find it interesting that the MAGA crew is coming out trying to go in on Barack Obama and Kamala and them too, trying to act like they gave a darn about Jesse Jackson or his family. Okay, please pay attention. That's exactly what Jesse Jackson Jr. was trying to do. He could miss me with it. I'm riding with Obama on this one till the wheels fall off. I don't care who's mad. Please pay attention. Okay? And isn't he a whole thief? Yeah, of course he is.
I've heard of this sentiment before when it comes to funerals. If the person who died didn't really care for you, the family involved don't really care for you, don't think you're going to show up to the funeral and everything is just going to be peaches and cream. Like, it ain't going to be sweet. It's not too many times where you actually see it, especially for these high-profile funerals. Seeing Jesse Jackson's son do it to Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Bill Biden, what's his name? I don't know, Joe Biden. I forgot people's names. He acknowledges them for being there, but he like, y'all ain't know my daddy. And my daddy ain't like y'all. He didn't want to be associated with no sellouts. Like, he ain't say it, but he might as well have said it. My daddy ain't really rock with y'all for real. I can understand it coming from a place of he's grieving. And he's probably speaking from the emotional side of the personal conversations he has had with his father. You can understand it and respect the place that it comes from. But there's still a piece of me that just feels like it seems a little distasteful. Just doesn't seem like the right thing to do. But you know what? Who cares about what's right? I just lost my pop.
Jesse Jackson Jr. basically just threw some very direct shade to former President Barack Obama and some of the other Democratic politicians who spoke at his father's funeral and basically accused them of politicizing the funeral. Here's the clip.
Message.
To all make his life to politics and justice and civil rights and doing what is right and organizing for what is right.
and being surprised or offended that people would choose to also make his funeral about those same concepts. And if you listen to Barack Obama's full speech, it was actually a lot mostly focused on Jesse Jackson. It wasn't until like the very end of the speech where he kind of started talking about the current political moment that we're in and how.
Exactly. I mean, even though they brought up politics, they still talked about Jesse. They still paid, they still talked about his memory and his legacy. So I really don't see what the big deal is. I just feel like he was pandering to the MAGA crew, and he just doesn't like Obama, period.
Jesse Jackson would have wanted us to respond, which I think is very appropriate for a public figure who dedicated their life to this work. And now we are at one of the most consequential periods in American history, and how we respond is everything. So politics is everything. So I think using the funeral of a man who devoted his life, again, to politics and justice to talk about those themes is completely reasonable. Like, I don't understand why he felt the need to pick a problem with that.
He felt the need to pick a problem with it because he doesn't like Obama. That's all that was. Now, let's get this last video. And here's the thing. Jesse Jackson was his father, so he's allowed to feel however he wants at the end of the day. But, I just think he was pandering. That's just my opinion. Okay? Because they still were respectful about how they did it, in my opinion.
This is George Cook at African American Reports. I'm sure by now you've heard about Jesse Jackson Jr.'s comments about the 3 presidents who spoke at his father's public funeral and how he felt about them. But just in case you haven't, here they are.
I listened, not because they demanded not been delivered today. I can see it all over my mother's face.
Now let's be clear. The Jackson family has the right to feel any way they want to feel about the funeral. If they feel that the spotlight was taken off of their focus on their father or husband's life, they have every right to do that. But some of y'all out there full of shit, a lot of you Republicans, MAGA and conservatives, y'all didn't give a damn when the Reverend Jesse Jackson died. You called him a grifter, said he was a race baiter. Now all of a sudden, you care what happened at his funeral. Stop it. Everybody can see right through your prejudice and racist asses. All right, y'all. Goodbye.
Exactly. Okay, exactly. That's just the thing about it. Now MAGA's coming out trying to go in, using this as their opportunity to go in on Biden, Kamala, and Obama. That's all that is. They don't give a darn about Jesse Jackson. They can't stand black people, period, let alone a civil rights leader. Okay, please. So, some of you may have thought it was in poor taste, but, I absolutely didn't see anything wrong with it. Okay? I didn't see anything wrong with it. Okay. Nice 10 MK said, thank you. It's the fake outrage for me. Exactly. For me too. Okay. For me too. Reggie said he's glad they showed up. Exactly. Okay. So now with that all being said, beloveds, I'm out of here. I want to thank you all for tuning in. And let me just say, beloveds, Cardi B is on Tasha K's arse about her coins. She wants her money. And so now Tasha K is out here with the whole GoFundMe trying to raise her money to pay that money to the millions that she owes to Cardi B. So sad. All she had to do was take down that video. That's all she had to do was take down that video, but she refused. And so now here we are, and she has to collect GoFundMe money to try to pay off her debt. Cardi wants to take it back to court. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, listen, I will see you all in the morning. I love you all to life. Make sure to double check to ensure that you're still subscribed to the channel. All right, until next time, beloveds, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember to keep the Most High first in your lives. Till next time, peace.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now.
That's
See
right.
a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy.
Real slick.
I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got